The sky was on fire, explosions shook the ground. The battlefield was full of smoke and screams. Human and alien forces were locked in deadly combat. But one soldier, Daniel, was running in the opposite direction. Not to fight, but to search. Something felt wrong in his heart. He had seen a small shape running away when the last bomb dropped. It was not a soldier. It was too small, too fragile. It looked like a child. Daniel's boots crunched over broken metal and burned leaves. His helmet buzzed with warnings. "Return to your unit, Private Daniel." This is an order. But he turned off the signal. He had made up his mind. He couldn't walk away if there was a child out there. Even if it was the enemy's child behind a fallen tree. He saw her, an alien girl no older than 5. She had glowing blue eyes and soft silver skin. Her small hands were bleeding. She looked at Daniel with fear and tears. She didn't speak his language, but she didn't need to. Her eyes begged for help. He raised his hand slowly, showing he had no weapon. "I won't hurt you," he said gently. She flinched as he stepped closer, but didn't run. Daniel kneeled, pulled a water pack from his belt, and offered it to her. She took it with shaking hands. That's when he heard it, the soft click of a sniper's rifle. His training kicked in. He looked up toward the ridge. A human sniper, one of his own, was aiming at the child. No, Daniel whispered. He didn't think. He didn't plan. He moved in one heartbeat. He threw himself in front of the alien girl. The blaster fired. The shot hit his side, burning through armor and flesh. Pain exploded through his body. He fell beside her, gasping. The sniper didn't fire again. Maybe he was shocked. Maybe he didn't understand. Daniel didn't care. He turned his head to look at the girl. She was safe, still alive, still breathing. Darkness started to pull him down, but before it did, he saw movement, something fast, graceful, and angry. A tall alien woman stepped through the smoke. Her long black armor shimmered. Her eyes were like fire. She reached the child, pulled her close, and stared at Daniel. For a moment nothing moved. Not the air, not the smoke, not time itself. Daniel couldn't speak. He didn't need to. The woman's eyes held a question, and something deeper. He had saved her daughter. Why? Then everything went black. He woke up to silence. Not the kind of silence you hear on a battlefield. A clean, cold silence. He was lying on a soft bed, but not human-made. Strange lights floated above him, and the walls pulsed with a soft blue glow. He tried to sit, but pain stopped him. His side was bandaged, but not by human hands. A soft hiss, the door opened. 2 alien guards stepped in. Tall and armed, behind them the same woman entered. The one from the battlefield, the one with fire in her eyes. She said something in her language, then pressed a device near her neck. A mechanical voice spoke in English. "You saved my child." Daniel didn't answer. He didn't know what to say. The woman stared at him for a long time, then said, "Now you will stay." Before he could ask what that meant, the guard stepped aside. The child appeared, holding a soft, glowing orb. She smiled at him, a real smile, not afraid this time. She ran to his bedside and held his hand. And Daniel realized he wasn't on a battlefield anymore. He was in the enemy's home, but they weren't treating him like an enemy. At least not yet. His mind raced with questions. Why had they saved him? What did they want from him? Why did the woman say he would stay? The answers would come later. For now, he was trapped in a place no human had ever walked freely. A place of danger, mystery, and something more. And it all began with one choice, one blaster shot, and the life of one alien child. Daniel sat up slowly. His side still hurt. But the pain had lessened. The room was not made of metal like human ships. The walls were alive, soft, glowing, breathing like skin. Everything was strange, too quiet, too clean. He had expected a prison cell, chains, cold walls, maybe angry guards, but instead, he was in a warm chamber, a bed, food cubes, soft light, and even a small moving screen that showed colors and shapes. Still, he couldn't shake the feeling. He was being watched. The door opened with a hiss. 2 tall alien guards stood outside. They didn't speak, but they signaled for him to follow. Daniel stood slowly, feeling weak but curious. He didn't have a choice. He stepped into the hallway. The corridor was curved like the inside of a shell. Blue lights guided their way. Other aliens passed by. Some stared, some looked away. He was a human here. a soldier from the enemy side. But no one attacked him, not yet. They entered a large room, a circular chamber with a high ceiling that shimmered like water. There she stood, Commander Yllari, the alien mother, the one who had said, "Now you will stay." She faced him, her arms behind her back. Her armor was dark and sharp, but her face was calm. The translator device near her neck blinked. "You are awake," she said. Daniel nodded. "I should be dead," he said quietly. "You are not," she replied. "You took the blaster from my daughter." He looked at her carefully. "I didn't do it for reward," he said. "I saw a child, not an enemy." Yllari tilted her head slightly. "That is not something your kind is known for," she said. Daniel felt his jaw tighten. "We're not all the same." She walked toward him, her eyes scanning him like a machine. "You are not a prisoner," she said. "But you are not free." "But what does that mean?" he asked. She stopped just a step away. "It means you are under protection," she said. "From others and from yourself." Suddenly, the chamber's wall lit up, showing a screen. Footage of the battlefield played. The moment he saved Lura, the moment he fell, then a different image, his own military watching the scene through drone eyes. They had seen him save the enemy child. They had called him traitor. Daniel's chest grew heavy. "They think I betrayed them." "They saw your heart," Yllari said, "and feared it." He turned away from the screen. "What do you want from me?" he asked. Yllari looked at him silently, then she said, "I don't know." Before he could answer, a small voice echoed from behind him. "Daniel." He turned. The alien child, Lura, was standing in the doorway. She smiled and ran to him, hugging his leg. Daniel froze, surprised. She looked up at him with bright eyes. "You saved me," she said, her voice soft and sweet. "I had to," he said, kneeling down to her level. "You were just a kid. She won't leave your side," Yllari said quietly. "She speaks your name in her sleep." Daniel looked at the child again. He had fought aliens his whole life, trained to see them as monsters, but now, one of them was holding his hand like he was family. He didn't know what to feel. Yllari stepped forward. "There are many here who do not agree with me," she said. "To them, you are a symbol of war. To my daughter, you are something else." Daniel stood. "So, I'm not in a cell, but I'm still trapped." "Yes," she said simply, "but not by bars." "What then?" "By what you did," she answered. "And by what comes next." The guards returned to escort him. This time, Lura followed him back to his chamber. She refused to let go of his hand until he sat down. She placed the glowing orb beside his bed, smiled, and left. The lights dimmed. Daniel lay in the strange bed, staring at the ceiling that glowed like starlight. Outside this room, he didn't know who he was anymore. To the humans, a traitor. To the aliens, a puzzle. To a child, a protector. He closed his eyes. He was no longer sure which side he belonged to. But one thing was clear. His life was no longer his own. Not after the blaster, not after the child. Not in this place where he was not quite a prisoner and not quite a guest. Daniel woke to soft humming. At first he thought it was part of a dream. But as he opened his eyes, he saw the small alien girl, Lura, sitting beside his bed. She was tracing shapes into the air with her glowing fingers. Her silver skin shimmered in the light. The orb she had brought before now floated beside her, pulsing like a heartbeat. He blinked, surprised. "How did you get in?" he asked. She smiled but said nothing. Instead, she reached out and touched the burn scar on his side, the place where the blaster had hit him. Her touch was cold but gentle. Then she placed her small hand over his heart and whispered, "Boom." Daniel gave a small laugh. "You remember," he said. Lura nodded, her eyes wide and bright. "I was afraid," she whispered. "I thought the sky was falling." Daniel sat up slowly. She didn't pull away. He realized something. She had been alone in that moment, truly alone, and until he stepped in, he wasn't just a soldier to her. He was the reason she still breathed. "I didn't want you to die," she said, her voice trembling. "I didn't want you to go away like father." Daniel looked at her, confused. "Your father? He's gone." She nodded. "Boom," she whispered again, pointing upward. "Skyfire." It hit Daniel harder than he expected. The girl had lost her father to war, just like so many children back on Earth. The faces were different, but the pain was the same. War didn't care what species you were. Suddenly, the orb beside her lit up. Images appeared in the air, glowing holograms. It showed Lura's memory. A peaceful home, her father lifting her into the air. Her mother, Yalari, smiling in the background. Then the sound of sirens, explosions, and fire. The father running out, telling her to hide. A blast of light, and then nothing. Lura's face was still, but her eyes were wet. Daniel had no words. He placed his hand over hers. "I'm sorry," he said. "I'm so sorry." The orb faded and the light in the room dimmed. Then the door opened. Yalari stepped inside, her eyes locking on Lura first, then on Daniel. "She used the memory orb," Yalari said calmly. "She has not done that since the day of the attack." Daniel stood, gently letting go of Lura's hand. "She showed me," he said. "She lost more than just a home." Yalari looked at her daughter with a softness Daniel hadn't seen before. Then she turned to him. "You remind her of him," she said. "The way you looked at her on the battlefield. It was not duty. It was protection." Daniel didn't respond. He wasn't sure what to say. Part of him still wanted to believe this was all temporary, that he would go home, return to Earth, find his people, but with every hour here, that belief was fading. Yalari stepped closer. "You are not just a human to her now," she said. "You are her savior, her memory of love, and her hope for safety." Daniel met her eyes. "And to you?" he asked. "What am I to you?" Yalari did not answer immediately. Then she said, "A risk." Daniel felt something cold run down his spine. She continued, "There are those who whisper already. Some believe you are here to spy. Some want you removed." Daniel's jaw clenched. "So I'm a threat to them?" "Yes," she said, "but also a symbol." She looked at Lura, who was now drawing on the floor with a glowing pen. "A symbol that maybe this war does not have to last forever." Suddenly, a loud bang echoed through the hallway. Lura jumped. Daniel turned toward the door. A voice spoke over the intercom in a strange alien tongue. Sharp, urgent, angry. Yalari's face hardened. She touched the translator. "There has been a breach." "Breach?" Daniel asked. "Someone trying to get in?" Yalari shook her head. "No," she said. "Someone is trying to get you out." Daniel's heart raced. "Humans?" he asked. Yalari looked at him darkly. "Or enemies of peace?" Lura grabbed Daniel's arm tightly. "Don't go," she whispered. Daniel looked at her, then at Yalari. "I'm not running," he said. "Not unless I take her with me." Yalari's eyes narrowed. "That choice," she said, "may destroy everything." The lights flashed red. Guards rushed past the door, weapons ready. And in that moment, Daniel knew. He had become more than just a soldier. He had become something bigger. To Lura, to Yalari, to this fragile hope of peace. And someone somewhere wanted that hope to die. The lights stopped flashing, but the silence that followed was even louder. Daniel sat alone in the dimmed room. Lura had been taken to safety. Yalari had ordered it, he didn't argue. She had also locked him inside. "For protection," she said. But Daniel couldn't help feeling like a prisoner again. The room had changed. What once felt calm now felt like a cage. The floating orb near the bed no longer pulsed gently. It hovered still, like it was holding its breath. Daniel walked to the wall and touched it. It shimmered under his fingers, not cold, not warm. Alive. He had spent the last 2 days trying to understand their world. And now something inside him needed answers. Why was he really here? Why had Yalari spared him when others wanted him dead? And why did she say the war was based on lies? His fingers brushed a panel near the corner of the room. It clicked open. Inside was a small console, with buttons marked in alien symbols, but Daniel had watched enough during his stay to guess their meaning. He pressed the one that looked like a book. The wall changed. Glowing text filled the air, a language he couldn't read, but below it, translation began word by word. It was a historical record, and what it said made Daniel step back in shock. It told the story of the war, not from Earth's side, but from theirs. A human vessel had landed on the alien planet 10 years ago. It was supposed to be peaceful, but something went wrong. The human soldiers opened fire. They took samples, destroyed fields, and claimed the planet for their own. Daniel shook his head. No, that can't be true, he whispered. He had been taught that aliens struck first, that Earth only defended itself, but the document said otherwise. And worse, there were names, leaders, officials. And proof. He scrolled deeper. Another page showed intercepted human transmissions. Classified files. One line stood out, translated clearly. Create enough fear, and the people will support the war. Daniel felt sick. Was the entire war built on lies? Did his people start it, just to take what they wanted? Suddenly the door opened with a soft hiss. Yllari entered, alone. Her eyes scanned the open files floating in the air. So, she said, you found it? Daniel turned to her, angry and confused. Why didn't you tell me this earlier? He asked. You said I saved your daughter, that I had a right to know. Yllari stepped closer, her face calm but firm. I wanted you to see it for yourself, she said. Words can be twisted, but truth shown is harder to deny. Daniel clenched his fists. Why keep me alive then? If your people hate mine? Because Lura trusts you, she said. And I trust my daughter. He looked at her, surprised. Yllari walked toward the console and closed the file. But now that you know, she said quietly, you are in danger. From who? He asked. She turned to him with steel in her eyes. From those who do not want peace, she explained. There were factions, both among humans and aliens, who profited from war. They fed it with lies, they hunted truth, they would kill anyone who threatened their power. Daniel stepped back. You think they'll come for me? They already have, she said. The attack 2 nights ago, when it wasn't humans, Daniel's breath caught. It was your own people? Yllari nodded slowly. There are those who would rather see you dead than see Lura smile at a human. A long silence filled the room. Then Daniel said, I need to leave. I need to tell the truth to my people. Yllari looked at him. Not with anger, but with sorrow. If you leave now, they will silence you before you reach your ship. Daniel turned toward the wall, thinking. He didn't want to stay, but he didn't want to die with the truth locked inside him. He had to do something, but he was just one man. Yllari placed a hand on his shoulder. There is another way, she said. We broadcast the truth from here, to both worlds. That'll start a war, Daniel whispered. Yllari shook her head. No, she said, if done right. It may stop one. The lights in the room flickered. Outside, thunder rolled across the alien skies. Daniel looked out the window. His old world felt far away. His mission had changed. He came here as a soldier, but now in the dark, with secrets burning like fire. He had a new purpose. The truth was heavy, but he would carry it even if it destroyed him. The stars outside the alien sky flickered like cold eyes. Daniel stood by the glass wall, watching the wind stir glowing trees. The air felt heavy, not with heat, but with choice. Escape was possible now. Yllari had ordered the guards away. She said nothing more after their last conversation, as if waiting for his decision. Daniel looked down at the object in his hand, a map disk. It displayed secret paths beneath the alien city. One of them led to the edge of the valley. From there, he could reach a human recon zone. If he moved quickly, he could send a signal. He could return home. He packed quickly, water, a heat capsule, and a small alien communicator. He didn't take any weapons, not because he couldn't, but because he didn't want to use one, not anymore. The door hissed open as he stepped into the hallway. It was late, silent, and no guards stood in sight. Every sound he made echoed like a whisper in a cave. He followed the disk's route through hidden stairways, past chambers filled with glowing roots and whispering walls. The alien city was alive, in a way Earth cities had never been. It felt like the place breathed without sound. He reached the final exit, a small panel at the base of a ridge. The stars above blinked like signals, almost there, almost free, but then, Daniel, he turned fast. It was Lura, her eyes wide with fear. She held a small toy in one hand, one he had fixed for her 2 nights ago. She looked at him, heartbroken. You're leaving, Daniel froze. Lura, you said you wouldn't, she said quietly. You said you'd stay. He stepped toward her, kneeling. I have to tell them the truth, he said. If I don't, more people will die. She hugged him, tightly. You'll die, she whispered. They'll shoot you before you say anything. Daniel didn't know how to answer. She wasn't wrong. He looked at her small hands. Shaking as they gripped his jacket, he realized then, running wasn't just escape. It was abandonment, the child who saw him as family, the mother who protected him from her own kind. He was about to leave them behind, and for what? A chance to speak to a world that had already marked him as a traitor. He looked up at the stars again. They no longer looked like home, just points of cold light. Then another sound, footsteps. Yulari stepped from the shadows, arms folded. I thought you might choose this path, she said. Not angry, just tired. Daniel stood slowly. I had to try, he said. I thought it was the only way. And now? She asked. He looked at Lura, then at the communicator in his hand. I don't know. Yulari walked closer. Your kind will not listen to you alone, she said. But if you stay, if we work together, the message may reach both our worlds. Daniel wanted to believe her, but trust was a fragile thing. How do I know your people won't use me? Turn me into a tool? He asked. Yulari's voice softened. I am not asking you to fight for us, she said. I am asking you to fight with us. Lura placed the toy in his hand. Stay, she whispered. Daniel closed his eyes. The war had taken so much from him, from all of them. Maybe it was time to take something back. Hope, he sighed and stepped away from the panel. The path to freedom closed behind him. I'll stay, he said, for the truth. Yulari nodded. Then we begin tomorrow, she said. We gather the records, the memories, the voices, and we speak to both worlds. And if they come to stop us? Daniel asked. Yulari's eyes flashed with cold fire. Then we remind them what fear cannot kill, she said. Truth. They returned through the hidden stairways, back into the city's heart, and for the first time since he arrived, Daniel didn't feel like a prisoner. He felt like a piece of something larger, a whisper of change in a storm of silence. The stars still watched, but he no longer watched them back. The next day began with silence, but not the peaceful kind. It was the quiet before something important. Daniel stood inside a tall dome made of clear crystal. Above him, the sky shifted in soft blue and silver. Around him, alien leaders gathered in a circle. They wore robes, not armor, but the power in their eyes was sharp as any blade. Yulari stepped forward, her voice calm. Today we decide, she said, not just for our world, but for theirs. Daniel stood beside her. Unsure of what came next, he had agreed to stay, to help send a message of truth. But this gathering wasn't about a message. It was about something else, something larger. He could feel it. A tall elder with glowing skin spoke first. He is human, the elder said, pointing at Daniel. A product of violence and fear. Why should he be part of our future? Before Daniel could speak, Yulari raised her hand. He took the blaster for my daughter, she said. He carries truth, not weapons. Another elder stood. A female with golden eyes, and yet, his people killed ours, she said. They would kill him too, if he returns. Daniel finally spoke. My world is broken, he said. Yours is bleeding, but I've seen something in this place. In Lura's eyes, in Yulari's courage, a future neither of our worlds can build alone. The dome went quiet. Yulari looked at the council. We are proposing the hybrid plan, she said. Children born of both species, trained in both cultures, carrying both hopes. They will become peacekeepers and not soldiers. Whispers filled the air. Daniel's heart pounded. They wanted to use his DNA, to create the first hybrid child. He hadn't known the full plan until now. The idea of it shook him. Not because he was afraid of the child, but because it meant tying his body and legacy to a war he didn't start. I didn't agree to this, Daniel said quietly, turning to Yulari. You said we'd speak the truth, not create new life from my blood. Yulari met his eyes. I said we would stop the war, she said. This is how. Daniel stepped back. This isn't peace, it's control. No, Yulari said, stepping forward. It is survival. A screen lit up behind them. It showed images, Earth's latest military movement. New weapons pointed at the alien system. Human news calling Daniel a traitor, a deserter, a possible spy. He felt sick. They've already decided what I am, he whispered. To them I'm dead. Yllari touched the screen. Then be reborn, she said. Not as soldier or enemy, but as the bridge. Daniel sat on the platform bench. His mind raced. He thought of Lura, of her hand in his, of her voice calling his name when he almost left. He thought of the soldiers who would never know the truth, of the cities that would burn if no one acted. You said you trusted your daughter, Daniel said softly. Would she want this? Yllari looked at him, and for once her voice trembled. She said, if you stayed, it meant the stars could change. Daniel stood again. Then let her be the first. Gasps filled the chamber. Yllari blinked. You mean? Yes, Daniel said. I'll take the risk. But not for you. For her. Outside the dome. The wind began to howl. A storm was coming, not just in the sky, but in every word spoken today. The council voted silently, one by one. The stones they held lit up in green approval. A message was sent through the entire city. The hybrid plan was real now. Some cheered, some wept. Some began to prepare for war, not with weapons, but with history, with science, with hope. That night, Daniel sat with Lura beside the glowing orb. She looked at him and smiled. Will I have a brother or sister? She asked innocently. Daniel smiled back. Maybe, he said, but they'll be different. Like you? She asked. He nodded. Like us, somewhere deep in the stars. Warships moved, but here, under alien lights and newborn hope. A soldier who once took a blaster for a child was now becoming something more. Not a fighter, not a prisoner, but a seed of peace in a garden of scars. The sky turned red, not the soft red of sunset, but the red of burning clouds. Sirens screamed across the alien city. The council chamber shook as tremors rumbled through the ground. Daniel ran with Yllari and Lura down the crystal corridors. Guards shouted orders in a language Daniel barely understood. But one word came again and again. Invasion. The humans had arrived. Not with questions, not with a white flag, but with warships, missiles, and fear. Yllari pushed open a door to a secure chamber. Inside, screens showed every corner of the city. Fire bloomed near the outer walls. Daniel watched in silence as a human flag appeared in the dust. He had once worn that same emblem on his own chest. Now it looked like a stranger's mark. They think I've betrayed them, Daniel said quietly. They've come to erase the proof. Yllari touched the screen. They do not fear the truth, she said. They fear the change it brings. A new alert flashed across the screen. Signal detected, incoming message, Earth Military Command. Daniel stepped forward. Put it on, he said. The screen shifted. A general's face appeared, hard and cold. Daniel Hayes, the voice said. You are ordered to surrender yourself. You are charged with treason, alien contact without clearance, and biological misconduct. Daniel stared into the screen. He didn't blink. This war was a lie, he said. Your hand started it, and now you want to bury it. The general didn't flinch. You are a soldier, not a historian, he said. You abandoned your duty. No, Daniel replied. I found a new one. The signal ended, no more words, only orders. And the ships above moved closer. Yllari looked at Daniel. They will breach the city within the hour, she said. We can hide you, Daniel shook his head. No, he said. I won't run again. Lura stepped closer, clutching his hand. I'm scared, she whispered. Daniel kneeled and looked her in the eyes. I am too, he said. But we still do the right thing. He turned to Yllari. Is the truth broadcast ready? She nodded. The signal tower is still online. Then let's send it, he said. Let the whole galaxy hear us. They moved fast. Through the broken tunnels and shaking halls. Explosions lit up the skies above, but inside the tower all was still. Daniel stood in front of the transmitter, a single red light blinking before him. He pressed the button. The signal went live. This is Daniel Hayes, he said, his voice calm but full of weight. I was a soldier of Earth. I came to this world believing I was fighting monsters, but I found a mother, a child, and the truth. This war started with lies, not by aliens, but by us. He looked at the camera. This child, he said, pulling Lura gently into frame. She was the enemy, and I took a blaster to save her. If that's treason, then maybe the world needs more traitors. Yulari stepped into view. We do not seek conquest, she said. We seek to end the circle of fear. The message was sent. To both Earth and alien systems, to the rich, the powerful, the broken, and the hopeful, the signal was strong. But the silence afterward was even stronger. Then outside a second wave came. Faster, louder, soldiers entered the tower. Daniel raised his hands, Yulari stood beside him. Lura hid behind his legs, clutching his coat, but no one fired. A voice came from behind the human masks. Orders have changed, the soldier said. The broadcast reached command. Daniel stepped forward. Then what happens now? The soldier looked uncertain. We don't know, he said, but we were told not to kill the peacemaker. That word, peacemaker, hung in the air. Daniel lowered his hands. The tower lights dimmed. Outside, the ship stopped firing. Days passed. A ceasefire was announced. Talks began. The truth had broken through, but Daniel never returned to Earth. He walked the alien city as a strange figure. Not one of them, not one of us, but something new. He taught children from both species. He worked with scientists to build the first hybrid schools. He sat beside Yulari at the new council table, and every night Lura sat by his side, drawing stars on the floor. Once he had been a soldier, then a prisoner, then a traitor, but now he was something else, a bridge, a beginning. And even though he no longer belonged to either side, he belonged to the future.